What is the role of a community manager? Why does a company even need to hire a community manager and not use AI? Hey everybody, it's Adibala here, and in today's video, I will be diving a little deeper into the role of a community manager. If you haven't watched my previous video on what community management is, feel free to click. I'm going to attach it somewhere on the screen, so feel free to click that to go and watch. I did drop a few insights on what a community manager does, but I will be diving a little deeper into that in today's video, and I hope you get to learn a thing or two. So to show you how important this session is, I had to write down everything because I did not want to hear that I missed out on anything. So just in case you see me reading, just know that I wrote it down somewhere because I don't want to miss out on any point. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is engagement. And engagement includes both the community and even your social media. So you, as a community manager, you are constantly getting people to talk about that brand or talk about a product or talk about what you're working on. As long as you can get one or two persons to talk about what they are doing, that's engagement. But that only works in like smaller communities. In larger communities, engagement would mean you trying to get everybody. Obviously, you will not be able to get everybody to start talking or commenting, or sharing their insights or knowledge, but at least a quarter of the people in that community should be able to do so as well. And as a community manager, you're not just engaging in your community and trying to get people to talk or trying to get people to publish content or trying to get people to share what they are doing. You are also engaging on people on social media, with people on social media, because for you to be able to get people into your community, they have to see what that community is about and why they should be a part of that community. Basically, what are they missing out? So you're engaging both in the community and even outside of the community. So in most communities that have social media presence, you get to see comments from people or random posts. It's a work of that community manager to continuously ensure that their responses and their engagement with external people puts that brand on a positive note. Of course, sometimes there may be backlashes, maybe something happened that puts the brand image in a negative way. I'll be diving a lot deeper into that in my upcoming videos. Stay tuned for that. So the next one is content creation. Again, content creation doesn't have to be something complex. It doesn't have to be, a very serious what's the word, it doesn't have to be something so serious that you start racking your head around what you should create, what you shouldn't create. Stuff's as easy as polls, questions, you know is content, videos, is content, articles, everything you can think of that shares knowledge is content. So you don't have to overthink it. Most people feel like content creation has to be one very complex thing where you have to do this, mad as editing that would get people blown away. Darling, you don't need to go through all that. I mean, if you do all that, perfect. But the main essence is to pass knowledge. The main essence is to make updates, make announcements, you know, ensure that whatever content you're creating, people can understand what you're doing. That's literally community management content. If you want to take it a notch higher, you want to do that. But for people that are just getting started or hearing about content creation for community for the first time, darling, trust me, you don't even need to go through all that extra stress in trying to ensure that everything works out. Just do what you can do and build up from there. The next thing I would say is moderation. Moderation in the sense that you are managing how people handle conversations in the community. Obviously, you want to still respect everybody's privacy, ensure that no one is being talked down, nobody is being insulted. You're not trying to build a toxic environment, So moderation is very important for a community manager because you have to drive those conversations. You have to ensure that things are done in a coordinated way. So it all ends up with what the main goal of that community is and what that company represents, the key messaging of that company. That helps you moderate activities, moderate conversations in a way that, brings about positivity. Another role that a community manager takes up is program development and management. You can't just be a community manager that does not constantly think of creative ways to expand that community. Let's say you build your community to 100 or 200 people. You don't want to keep being at 200. Once you hit that milestone of 100, you're looking forward to having over 200 people in your community. Once you hit that milestone, you're looking forward to having 500, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 20,000. You're looking at constantly building and growing your community. Your role is to constantly come up with initiatives and programs that would help grow and improve your audience retention, because you don't want to be stuck at that 1,000 members. After a while, your company is even going to ask you, like, are people not joining the community? What's going on? You obviously want a situation where you constantly grow, where people constantly see your community as a place of value. So, as a community manager, you always have to come up with initiatives, come up with programs, what would make people interested. There are some companies that even launch ambassador programs, ambassador advocacy programs, challenge, things like that to get people more involved. They even go as far as putting prizes on them, to get people more involved. So your role as a community manager does not just end in moderation or creating content. What's that next big thing that you can do to attract more people in the community and also make the already existing community members feel included, feel busy, feel like they are doing something impactful? The next thing that I want to talk about is feedback collection. As a community manager, your role is not just to manage a community and leave. The very important thing you need to always do is feedback collection. And depending on how big your community is and how often you send out activities or come up with activities, depending on how busy your community is, that would help you determine how often you should be collecting feedback. So, I mean, there are different ways of collecting feedback. You can use forms to collect feedback. You can, like, ask questions to collect feedback, just basically trying to understand how people feel about a particular thing. Or if you want to do like that massive feedback collection, you can just create forms. And there are various tools to do that. There's Google Form, there is Typeform, there is SurveyMonkey. There are various tools. I think Notion even supports creation of forms now. So depending on what tool you use that, come up with relevant questions that would help you collect feedback. And you're not just collecting feedback. You have to structure your questions in such a way that even if you're not there with that person, it becomes very easy for them to want to answer that question. There are ways that people structure questions in their feedback or survey forms, and you just leave it. Like, some people be like, I'm not even interested, I don't even have this time. But you understand why you are collecting feedback, and you should be able to structure your questions accordingly, because again, people would be able to fill out those short responses that would help you make decisions. Now, the most important reason why you're collecting feedback as a community manager is for it to help you understand how people, all the initiatives or all the activities that you have been implementing so far in the community, how people perceive these initiatives. It will help you know what to continue doing, what to discontinue, It will also help you make decisions on new strategies or new things you can come up with to ensure that that community grows to the next level. So yes, you need one of your roles is feedback collection. The company you're working for or managing that community for will not be able to come and collect feedback from all the people in the community. That's why you're there as a community manager. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about is actually analytics and reporting. As a community manager, you need to learn how to analyze the initiatives and the activities you have implemented so far in your community. You need to also be able to report what's going on in your community. Now, this would help you understand what's working and what's not working with data. It's one thing for you to know that something is not working. It's another thing for you to have data of how and why that thing is not working. So let's say you collect feedback, and at the end of the day, out of 1,000 people that fill the form, you discover that about 80% of them are okay with a particular feature, and maybe like 5 to 10% complain of always having black screen anytime they open that product, open that app. And then maybe like 5 to 10% would say, oh, this feature is not useful for them, they don't need it. Now that would help you as a community manager gather the data, like you're gathering information but with data. The exact number of people that need a particular thing or don't need a particular thing, or you don't, maybe the challenges they are facing and whatnot. Now, giving that data to the company itself will help them also make informed decisions. Okay, out of 1,000, 100%, right? About 80% like this tool and they're using it just fine. About 10% are having blank screen. Now we can investigate more into that to see, you know, why people are having blank screen. So I mean, end goal is that they want to use the feature or they've been using the feature, but the main challenge they are facing is a blank screen. And then the other 10% that said they are no longer interested or they are not interested in the feature, again, majority wins because almost 90% want that feature and just this 10% doesn't want that feature. Now, imagine you decide to take a decision based on the fact that about 10% is not interested in that feature. You decide to say 10% they're not interested. Let me, get rid of this feature. What happens to the 90? They're going to drop off because you're not giving them what they want. And I mean, that's for making these data driven decisions for the company. How about you as a community manager? With analytics and reporting, it will help you know if people are more available on Mondays for virtual events and at what time, or if they are more available on Fridays or Wednesdays or Thursdays. So, being able to understand the act and process of analyzing the reports that you have, it would help you make data driven decisions as a community manager. So, let's say your company depends on you to know how the community feels about their products, what the community wants, and then the community depends on you to be able to understand what they want, how they want it, how they feel, activities that they would enjoy. So it's left for you as a community manager to come up with different ways to, be able to gather this information, gather this data, analyze them, and make informed decisions. So as a community manager who is currently listening to this, what other roles do you have or do you find yourself doing or involved with in the communities you're managing that I haven't mentioned? I am curious to hear in the comment section. Of course, there's definitely 1,001 roles out there, 1,001 things out there that community managers do on a daily basis. Even social media management, for most established companies, you don't necessarily need to even do social media management. They have people for that. But for companies that bootstrap, they usually one person can usually handles more than one thing. So I might see a community manager that is also handling social media management, or that's also doing one or two things on the, in the social media space or in the marketing space. So it just depends on where you find yourself. But my one advice to you is, wherever you find yourself, whatever company you find yourself, and whatever responsibility you're given, try to do them, try to learn from them. Of course, don't make anybody take advantage of you. Don't do that. But wherever you find yourself and whatever you find yourself doing, try to analyze what you're working on. Is this something that will be beneficial to your career in the next few years? Is this something that if a company should ask you, oh, what are your skills? What do you know how to do outside of community management? Would it add positive impact in your portfolio or your resume? Then do it, because if you work with companies that kind of expose you to the other things that you get to do, it helps broaden your knowledge and gives you access to, more. It just increases your skill set. So don't limit yourself to just moderation and just managing that community. Go into the social media space, try to do some things, explore, learn SEO, learn so many things, because it all links back to community management, and this would help you excel more as a community manager. So I hope you did learn a thing or two in this video. Remember, if you have not watched my video on what community management is, I am going to plug it in somewhere. So feel free to drop by, watch the video, and share your insights on what you think. I have an upcoming video, and I hope to see you there as well. Bye bye.